case, whenever you work on a real-time project, there is a rare case scenario when we actually need to call Apex class. In my experience, I called the Apex classes at the initial phase when the project is moving from traditional Apex environment to Velocity. There we have not 100% migrated to Velocity. So whatever we have in our Apex class, we try to reuse it into the OmniScripts, and with the help of data raptors OmniScript, all those things with the help of that. In that case, whatever is written in the Apex class, we thought, why don't we just directly use, and maybe in the next sprint we will move completely removed, completely migrate from Apex to this environment, right? So maybe this is the one scenario. Second scenario is when we have a very specific requirement where we don't want user or anyone to write any additional efforts in OmniScript or Data Raptor. In that case, we also call Apex server call. Okay, this is maybe possible when you have a dependent structure or maybe any other business requirements. In short, if you need to call any Apex class, you actually need to use remote actions. We will discuss remote actions today. What is that and what is not. So let's quickly go and drag the remote action. You will find that into the action tab. Yeah, here you will search for remote and you will see it, right? Let's do one thing. Let's add the remote action at the last. Okay. So this is similar ways how we drag a different backend action. The behavior of this backend action is also same. If you add this inside any step, it will be behaved like a button. If you add it outside, then it will be automatically get fired with the help of a next button. Okay. So let's see, let's keep an eye what are those steps and what we can configure here. So the first thing is the label name. Again, it will be sorry, element name. This will be the key identifier label name, which will display on a UI. If you add it inside any step, whatever button you want to use, it will be used for this. The next thing is the remote class and remote class method. This is the place where you actually define your Apex class and what's its method that you want to configure. Okay, there is no other way or other settings where we can define more than one method, right? You can clearly see there is one option where we just need to define one method, and there is one class which asks us to put something here. That means we can only call one method in our remote classes. But in the back end, when we actually work on Apex class, inside that method, we can retrieve multiple methods and club the output and send back to the OmniScripts. We will see how we can do that. Next one is the timestamp, like what is the max cap you want to use for your remote action as a time thing. If it is taking more than that, it will automatically uh, end the session and user will see end up with the exception. Okay, so they will not see any loader after this time. It is very similar how it is behaving in the other components as well. Next is the data raptors. See, as of now, we only explore two record types of data raptor. One is the extract, second is the load, right? There are two more, which is the one is the transform, which basically use to, like its names is transform. That means if maybe the input of your the input that you're feeding to the Apex class is not in a proper shape, or maybe it is coming from external system and it is not in a JSON structure, or it's maybe in an XML structure or something else, and we want to name it correctly, or we want to cast it. In that case, we need to use the data raptor transform. We will when we discuss about transform, we will then come back to this stage and again discuss what is the pre-transform and what is the post-transform. But as of now, you can consider that whenever the data is not in the appropriate shape, we can use data transform to actually convert it into the desired structure. Okay. The next thing is the remote options extra payload. These two things are very important. First, yeah, just keep an eye on it. This remote option. So see, you can see there is two things written, key and value. That means whatever you put here, it will be considered as a map. Okay, so today we will all the nomenclature I will try to relate on Apex side. That means usually we call it key and values. Today, let me relate it through the coding structure. That means it is a map. Similar ways here as well. Extra payload. This is also in key and value format. Okay, so let's talk about it. See this option, which is let's first talk about this extra payload. So if you want to send any specific information to the server, okay, we will do it today itself. But for query purpose, let me explain you what is the purpose of extra payload here is. If you want to send any specific data to your Apex class, then you need to name it. Okay, whatever you name it, it will be considered as a map key. Okay, let me write it. Let's say I have written test and the value I have given, let's say this, since it's a structure, so I need to provide some value here. Let's go and type account name maybe. So whatever, so this value, when we actually work on an Apex class, we will get this value inside a map. Okay, and to retrieve the value of this node, the key will be test. So whenever we use test, then I mean in a map, when we use map.get semicolon test, then it will return as this value. Okay, so it will be in a key and value pair. Then why it is called extra payload? Let me actually tell you that since it is dragged at last of our script. Okay, this is the last element. That means all the output of all those nodes will be feeded here. That means, like I was saying in the last classes as well, your order of execution works on a sequential way. That means it will fire this first step, then it's next and next and next. And if I talk about this step, the output of step 1 will be the input of your account select server call. Okay, similar ways this will be treated. The output, the input of this step will be the output of all those previous steps. Here also remains the same. The input of remote action will be the output of all your previous steps. That means by default, your Apex class will get all those things that is written by the above classes or above steps. Okay, so those will be treated as a payload. Okay, but if you want to specifically send something to your Apex class, in that apart from this, whatever there in your JSON, you can use this extra payload. Okay, we'll discuss about it, but yeah, this is what called, and the purpose of extra payload is if you want to send something which is not in the tree, or specifically you want to use that only, then you can use the extra payload. Now what is this remote option? Let's talk about this. So see, in our Apex classes, there are modes how we want to run Apex class, right? In like we can use Apex class in a future mode, we can use it in a batch mode, or we can use it in a normal sync way, right? So in that case, if we want to make it async, or we want let's say in this data rep, in this remote action, we just want to update any record, okay, which we don't want to hold the transaction and we just want to forget it. We fire this remote action and it will update the record, and user doesn't require to wait or need to get any acknowledgement. In that case, here we can write future. Okay, and here we can make it true. All those type of configuration which actually identifies which the method that you have configured here, this method will run on a future. In that case, you need to use future is equal to true. If it is run on sync mode, you can simply close it. Okay, in that case, if you're not configuring this option, user will get a feed from your class, whatever you're returning something. Because see, we are calling Apex class, there is a high chance that the class will return something, or it is doing some action based on that it is returning any value, and that value we want to display in our UI. In that case, we will not use this remote option. But just in case if we don't want to retrieve anything, we just want to fire a method, and maybe the method is doing the backend job, and there is no feed that we want to send back to the user. In that case, we will not configure this. Today, we will explore the same option here. Okay, so Any questions on those configuration? There's one more, which is send and JSON response. This we will discuss today itself, but yeah, we will only check this option when we actually get some JSON, and then we will configure those things. But yeah, meanwhile, any questions? Okay, there should be questions like, can we call any class or any method? The answer is no, we cannot call any class. There is a specific syntax or a annotation. If that class is having that annotation only then we can call it. So it's not like you have any class written, or I mean in the current structure, let's say we are working on a aura component, right? So similar ways, we need to have a @ annotation aura enabled, then only it will be getting called in your lightning environment or LWC environment, right? Similar thing here as well. There is no annotation, but there is an implementation package implementation you need to do, and the structure will also be the same. So let's first talk about the class structure and its method structure. So in today's example, what we will do is we will here in this step in the UI, in the account detail, we will drag a date of birth field. Okay, and we will ask user to put something into the date of birth field, and based on that we will make a server call, and we will check whether the date of birth is what is the age based on that date of birth, and whether what is the category, I mean whether it is a less than 80 or less than 10. Based on that we will return this category as well. So two information we will return: one is the age, second is the age category. Okay, and we will use our remote actions to do that, and based on the output we will display something into the UI that your age is this and your category is this. Okay, this exercise we will do. So just check what is the Apex class that you need to do. Our Apex class name is calculate age, and this is the implements we need to do. Velocity CMT, this is the package name, and this is the interface that comes with your package, Velocity Open Interface. Okay, this we have to inherit if we want to use any Apex class. So in my project, what I did is I created one Apex class with this inheritance, and I called other methods that I have used in a different Apex classes, maybe, and those methods were interacting with Lightning and WC and VF pages. Okay, so I didn't touch them because that time those users are also using those skins. But yeah, for creating a different class will always better, and maybe you can call a method like this only. Okay, so let's talk about that. First thing, you need to make sure your class needs to be global. Second, you need to be implements the velocity CMT, velocity open interface. If you are in a communication domain and you have installed communication package, then it will be velocity CMT. If it is a different package, based on that you need to change the extension, but this class remains the same. Okay, any questions on it? Okay, the next thing is the first method that you need to define. What I mean by first method, the entry method. It could be last or in the mid. That's not the question. So first requisite is global. Second requisite is this. Third requisite is your invoke method. Okay, it needs to be the same name, invoke method, and inside this method it will return boolean only. Here you need to define three params. Let me first tell you what are those params. Let me write down. First is the method name. Method name will store the information that you write in remote method. Okay, if I write ABC, okay, first thing, yeah, whatever you write in a Apex class, if that Apex class is having these two things, I mean, if it is a global and it implements this interface, then only it will able to understand, okay, there is a class. If you don't do that, the velocity package will not able to identify which class you're talking about, and it will throw the exception. Okay, so once it find the Apex class, this now it will, yeah, now it will search for this method. Here what it will do, it will first ask, it will then check what is the method name, and you will get the method name from this method only, and which get stored in a string format inside this parameter. Okay, the next option that you're seeing here is the input, which is in key and object structure. Your input is something which basically your JSON data. as of now, let's say we have not configured anything into the extra payload. Then by default, your input will be the entire JSON that is written till this step. So if I go and do anything, let me show you. Hmm. Did this acme, it fire that, I did the next. Yeah, yeah, let's go back. So whatever JSON you're seeing here, all this JSON will be the input of your it. I mean, this all JSON will be sent under this map. So the key will be those nodes and the value which will be those. Okay, so all those things will be by default get passed into the input thing. Okay, now next is the output. Output is something that you want to construct and return back to the server. So this will be considered in the output. Let's say I have be like I was saying, there's two things we want to return back. One is the age and one second is the age category, right? So those age and age category will be casted in, will be converted into map and sent back to the server. So once you send back to the OmniScript, it will, you will see there will be a node created here. One is for the age, second one is for the age category. Okay, so this is something that you're returning back to the server. Next thing is the options. So this value of your option, the value of your option will be this, whatever you have configured in remote option. Let's say if you configured this future true, then this value you will get here. Okay, and based on that, you can write the logic here, whether you want to configure this thing in a future or you don't want to configure this in a future. Okay, any questions here?
I can see map of string of object, but in UI there is a multiple, values we can pass. So how that
Correct.
will be passed? Yeah.
So see, all those values will be passed directly here. So this will be part of your key and value pair. It's a map, that means it can store, it can hold more than one keys, right? There will
Yes.
be
Yeah.
more than one keys, so all your node will be part of your keys, and when you pass the exact value, it will return us the response. We'll check how we can do that. Like here I was trying to get these two things, so it will simply return us those values here as well. What I will do, let me also, yeah, I have already used this debug log. We will check in Apex debugger to check what input that it is sending. Okay, here for demoing purpose, I have created two methods. Actually, these two methods are same. I just changed the name. Why I did that, let me tell you. In the first method, this method will return you the response. Okay, but here you can only configure main method. Like I was saying, this is the entry method, like invoke method, where you need to pass the method. This parameter needs to be the same. You need to copy paste it always. Okay, all those three parameters will needs to be there. Four parameters: one method name, input, output, and the option. In the next, after this, when you actually read, let's say in your class there are multiple methods written. Okay, but you only want to use method calculator, and let me actually do this. Mm, two, then you want to use two, and let's do this. Let's also remove this. So let's say here you can write your logic that we usually write in our Apex classes. Let's say if method name is age calculator, that means in data rep, sorry, in OmniScript, we have written age calculator here. Okay, this is the age calculator, and this is our class name. Okay, let's say here we have given age calculator as a remote method name. So the code will go at this level, at this line, it will invoke the line number 2, and then it will search what is the method name. It found, okay, the method name is age calculator. It will call this age calculator method directly from here. Okay, and it will send all this information that you have retrieved from the above method. It will send all those information and do the computation. Similar ways, you can use the same method here as well. If you in your OmniScript, in this particular OmniScript or any other script, you have dragged any another remote action. Let me do that remote action. If I dragged another remote action and there I configured the same class but different method. This time we have called age2. Okay, in that case, it will again go and call the same Apex class. This time it will see, okay, the method name is h2. Now it will go and do this. Now you can now you can check. I have not passed the third parameter because here it's purely up to us. Do we want to even pass the output parameter or input parameter? That's totally up to us. Okay, here in this class I have not used the other parameter because I'm not using inside my code. So it's makes sense, right? If I'm not using, why should I keep that extra input in my extra attribute in my method, right? So I already removed that. So that's why, I mean, the reason why I'm showing you this, because you can, it should be else. Yeah, here you can identify any of those scenarios. Okay, you in general, when you work on a project, in most of the cases we maintain one class or maybe two classes for getting called from your interface. There we will use this else if and sometimes switch blocks, and based on that we directly route which method we want to call. Okay, is that clear why I have used why I have called written two methods here, and why I have used if and else? That might clear. Any questions?
Why we are sending, say, like right now, method name then input. So when it come for the input, there will be like we are passing all the entire J node. So will
Correct.
it be like for our transaction it won't be relevant. Say like right now based on the functionality, we need only couple of info, not everything. But still in the map of string of object we are getting everything. So will
Right,
it be
right,
like
right.
unnecessarily we are passing too much values into the
Correct, correct.
method?
Right, right. Be by default, it will be always scenario. You will always pass all those unnecessary information, but we can control it. We will check how we can
Okay.
control when we actually get something from the JSON. There we have option where we can actually control which specific node we want to send, or even this is also work in a backend way, like your method probably returning something which is not relevant for your OmniScript, right? Your maybe OmniScript deals with couple of two or three things, and you have your method is generic, and that generic method is doing so much computation and returning back. So this thing we can also control here. So we will talk about from where we can control, but at this level, is it clear why I have used two methods, and any questions related to the interface that we have implemented, or anything related to this? Because that is pretty important. In most of the cases, we will, like I was saying, I mean, velocity will never stop you to create multiple classes, but it for us to debug it is easy if we maintain one class and make switch. I mean, instead of if and else, we use switch blocks and route the different classes. Okay. And yeah, since it is a static, so there's no dependency on other as well, right? So that's why. Okay. Next thing is, let's do one thing. Mm, We have configured the class, and no parameter here, no parameter here. Okay, so yeah, now let's talk about the method that we have written, what it is doing. Input will be, like I was saying, it will be in a JSON format, and it will be in a map format. So here we need to use it, let's say this account ID. Okay, and if you go here, I'm not using account ID anywhere. Here you can see, let me copy this JSON. Mm, Here. J. You can see there's no account ID. Okay, no account ID into the input node. No account ID, right? Why I have kept this value? Because I want to show you what if you have configured a miss thing. I mean, there's no node, and then how it will show. That's why I have used this, and I also debugging it. Second is the date of birth. That means there should be a key value named date of birth in our structure. And since we are not following the JSON structure, we are not reading the JSON structure, we will also check what is the behavior. So once we get the date of birth, and here I have added a null check. Based on that, we will count the date, and here we will cast that value into a date dot ensure. I mean, casting this into the date, because the return type will always be in a object way, right? Because the type is object, we need to cast it to the dates. Now I'm dividing, I'm calculating all those days and dividing it into 365. Okay, because we want to convert it into year. Now this age will be calculated as year, and now I'm checking whether this value is less than 15. If it is, then I'm returning UD under 15. If it is in 15 to 18, we will return UD 18, that means under 18. Else we will return is as an adult. Okay, and this age we will passed to age category. I mean, this category we will ag cat we will pass to age category, and age we will return as a age. Okay, so this is the simple code that we will calling here. In that case, you can write your business codes, whatever business requirement you want to fulfill. Based on that, you can retrieve the data. In our case, we will you display these two values in the UI, age and age category, right? Any questions on the method? No, let me do one thing. Let me go to the Salesforce and enable the logs. Okay, now, yeah, clear the data. And so clear the log here. Okay, so let me remove this one. Age, nothing there. Yeah. So let's see how it will behave. Okay, it fired the age, this one, uh, and yeah, first data after it triggered this one. We don't need to take care about it. Next one, it will trigger this. Now you will see there will be two entries. One is for this data raptor and second one is for the remote action after the click of next. Yeah, you will see first data raptor get fired and then remote action get fired. Okay, cannot. Okay, actually I have not saved this class. Let me save this class. Yeah, name is same. Okay. Let's do it again. Okay, now you can see it fired the data raptor and then the remote action. In the remote action, the first thing that we usually check is the log level that OmniScript will show. Okay, here you will see the request. You can see all those things are sending as an input. All these things as a send as an input, and the response we have sending age null and error. Okay, because we have not given anything into the age category. Now let's go back into the debug log and see. Yeah, this is the log, I think. Yeah, here you can see why it's not converting. Yeah. So see, let's open the age. So first it will see what is the input it is sending. Line number 11. So you can see it is sending all the JSON node. Let me copy the full path. This is the response it is sending. can check this is the entire path that is it is sending. It is the same thing that it written there, right? Dr raptor account block, and the block starts from here, and then the step one, right? And all those things, ID, new report. I mean, whatever written here, it is sending entire thing here, right? Next thing is let's check the next one. The next that debug that we have added is for the account DOB and the account ID. Let's check what it is returning there. The DOB is null, the account is null. Okay, so everything is null, and probably it will not, since it is null, it bypass all the code and send this value. And since nothing is given, so it is returning null itself, right? If you go back to the OmniScript, you will see there is an entry created for age category and for age, and both are blank. Clear? Now let's do one thing. Since in our Apex class, we are just keep an eye on here, line number 15. Date of birth, it is expecting that there will be a node for date of birth name. Okay, then only it will pick the data. But the JSON that we are sending, there's no entry for date of birth. So let's create that and we'll see how it will work. So first go to the OmniScripts and drag a input date field. Input. There will be a date field. Time. This level. Okay. Here you can see what is the default and what is the format, date, time, and all those things. You can see. Let's do one thing. Let's drag the date. It will be easy. Yeah, now you can see the format is this, and the format that will send to our Apex class is in this format. We can actually change this as well. That is a part of your date category. Here we will write date. Here we can write date of birth. Yeah, this is done. Next thing that we need to do is we need to go to the remote action and see. Now we need to provide the extra payload. Since even we are passing, we are sending entire data, but this will be part of your entire JSON. So if we need to read it, we need to go in Apex class and we need to retrieve this value from this structure, from the debug. No, from this structure. We need to go and read this entire structure, and then we can pick the value of that particular node, which sometimes is a lengthy job, right? So what we can do is we can directly go and provide a extra payload. I will tell you what I'm doing here. Just bear with me. Now what I need to do is I need to now configure the entire path. Since we need to retrieve the value, we will use the percentage mark here, right? Count block 2, and inside there is a field called date value, right? Date value. So now what we have done is we have created a extra payload. That means it will send all this information, but with this information, it will create a another node for date of birth. Okay. Here, and whatever value we will provide, it will be written here itself, right? Whatever value we have provided, it will be part of here. And this node we will read in our Apex class here. And based on that, we will do the computation. Okay, so let's check now how it is behaving. We have given this and we have configured this into the extra payload. So let me go back and yeah, clear the log. And let's also clear this log and data as well. Okay. Now let's open this and give it some date. Let's say we will give 10 December. Okay. Let's check if it is deleted. Yeah. Now when we do the next, You can see there's an entry given here. Keep an eye on what value get returned here, also here as well, right? So when we do the next, invalid date, okay. You can see the date of birth is blank and it returned the response as an invalid date. So let's check what is the problem here. Mhm. Date value, date of birth, it is a string. We haven't changed anything here. It looks good. In the remote site settings, we have provided the value correctly here as well.
O is missing.
Yeah, correct. The structure is not correct.
Account.
Hmm. Wait, let me copy this from here and go to this place. Okay, now let's do it again. Okay, let's give it a date again. Okay, now do the next. You will see it is returning the age calculation and there is no error. Now let's check the response here, what it is sending. You will see there's a different node created for date of birth. Okay, now if you go and open the log file. So see, this is nothing but a VF page, right? So it will interact with the backend Apex with the help of remoting. So that's why if you go back into the log, you will see the a log file in a VF remoting. In any environment where you don't have access or you don't have admin rights, in that case, let's say if you're facing some issue in production, okay, then first thing that you need to do ask for your run team that provide you support is you need to first go and ask them just do it in the omniscript, okay, and then you will ask this response, okay, and for better debugging you can also ask them to give you the production log, okay, so they will give you this file. There you will see what is the input that you are sending and all those things you can see. Now let's go and check what is the debug we have added. So in line number 16, you will see it actually get what value we want to use. And line number 17, which is account, is still null. Why? Because we have not, there is no node for account itself, right? So it is null. And based on that, since it is having a value, it is doing the calculation and it is returning us whether what is the exact category of the user and what is the age. Now let's do one thing. Let's go back to the OS. And here we can add another step. After this, and here we can use input as a text and one number. Okay, inside text, we can use age category. Number we will use age. Why I'm using this? Because you can see the age return type is integer. Okay, if we configure this thing in a text, it will not show anything here. Let's do one thing. Let me, yeah, let's first do this and then I will show you about the text as well. Getting. Now let's do the preview, clear the data. Okay. Okay, now we'll see this is adult and this is 39 age. Okay, so that means the code is working fine. There's no error. You can also see. Now let's do one thing. Since there's so much unnecessary information that we are sending to our server, you can also check in the log what is the input element that it is sending. There's so many unnecessary information we are sending, right? So let's see how we can restrict that. So for restriction purpose, Velocity provided us the option in send and response transform. Actually, this option is again not actually used in remote action. You will see this option everywhere. Here also send transform in data raptor. In if I drag any another element, you will see this option will always be there. So whatever response your JSON is sending back, you can actually control this. So let's check it is. I have clicked on remote actions. So see the first thing which is called send JSON path. Here you need to define the path which you want to send to. Let's say as of now it is sending all this information which is account detail, step information and all those things, right? So let's see, we don't want to send the other node, but we only want to send the account and its account and block. In that case, you need to write account semicolon and block 2. Okay, one thing that you are observed, I have not used percentage mark here. Not use this. Why? Because we are not retrieving the value. We are just telling which path you need to send. Okay. That's why we have not used percentage here. If you use percentage, it will not send anything. Okay. So your send JSON path will control which specific node you want to send. Even you can also configure this as well. Let's say if you only want to send name, you can exactly give the exact node value that you want to send. So let's first do block 2. Okay, now let's go and clear the data. Also here, let me show you the previous output. In the request, we are sending all these things, right? You can say this is all step 3, all those things, even not step 3, step 1 account and all this script information we are sending. But after this, it will only send this much data. Okay, so let's clear the data and add it again. Okay, yeah, let's do the next. Now open the request. You will see it will only send the block information and this extra payload that we want to send, right? So this way we can actually control which information we want to send. Even we can restrict it to send only a specific node like I was saying. So let's go back and check if we can send only one node here. Where is the, yeah, here it is. Okay, now it will only send name information. See, let's go back here into Apex class. Want to show you one thing. Our map is string and object. Why I give this way? Because if you define object, that means it can be hold a list of array. It can also hold any object structure like a JSON structure, or it can also hold a string, right? So that's why wisely I have selected string object, sorry, but you can change it. But if you change it, there may be a possibility it will not work. Okay, so that's why use object only. Now let's go and take a preview. But again, it is not written on stone that you need to use objects only. It's totally depend. But I usually like this way because it gives me flexibility to pass any type of data. I don't need to take extra care of what type of data I'm sending. See, I just passed one node and it worked there also. It accept the name only, right? I'm only passing name here and it accept this thing as well. Since I have only used object, if I used something else, it will break. Okay, now since we have passed the specific node, let's go back here. if I use this date value, then we actually don't require to send any extra payload. You're getting it what I did. So previously we are passing this full JSON. Okay, but our requirement is only to pass the date of birth. So what we did, we basically created an extra payload and we send this information. Okay, but in this way, when we have now we have an option where we can actually pass only single value, then why don't we just directly pass the single value? Why should be actually passing this thing two times? Because this information, whatever the date of birth we are trying to send as extra payload is already there in the node. Then there is no need to pass it again. So just remove it from here. Let me copy this value and yeah, paste it somewhere. Now let's remove it. You're getting it what I did. Instead of passing the entire JSON, I have now passed the dat value, which is already there into the JSON structure, and I have removed the extra payload. Now let's see whether it will work or not. Okay, keep an eye here. Did the next, it didn't work. Let's quickly check what it sent. You can check it is sending date VAL. Okay, but in our Apex class, we have written date of birth. Where it is, yeah, date of birth, but we cannot change this here. Let me close it. Let's say there's a I mean, we can go and change it here, but let's say we have used this thing in a different place and we simply cannot change. Then how we can handle this? Let's discuss about this. So yeah, let me give you the clearance again. What we did is we are previously we are passing date of birth as an extra payload. Okay, but since this date of birth information we found already there in our JSON structure, so for optimization point of view, we have removed this extra payload and we want to use this information which is already part of our JSON tree. But the problem here is the name of that value is date VAL, not date of birth, which is we have referred in our Apex class. Now there are two options. One option is we can go, sorry, we can go and change the element name, but we are not sure if we change it, what it will break. We are not sure. Maybe if I change it here, definitely it will work. But let's say this is something that you are working and someone else is also working and you're not sure if I change it, then what it will break in the backend. So we will not touch it. The next option is go and change this thing into the Apex class, but we can also not change this in Apex class because this is a generic method and someone else is also using it somewhere else. So how we can do this? How we can handle this type of requirement? Let's see. In JSON response, let's go back, send and response. There's another thing which is called send JSON node. Okay, what this basically does, it says it will use for the same purpose. It says, okay, your node name is date value, but you want to typecast according to you. So just write this thing here, date of birth here directly. N- uh, Yeah, type it date of birth here directly. What I will do when I send this server request, when I call the server, I will rename this from date val to date of birth. Okay, getting it? Let's quickly check what I'm saying. Let's go and take a preview. Use Acme. Just keep an eye. Here the value is date val only, right? Give it some value. The next. Now you will see it is returning the response. And if I go back and check the debug, and check the request, now it is sending date of birth only. But if you check the configurations, Here we have used date well, but since we have override the node name, now it is treating whatever we have overridden here. Getting it? Yes, no, any feedback? I mean, is it clear? Or you want me to explain it again? See, it's quite simple. Let's take this. Let me remove this and check this in a bigger picture. Let's say our parent node is account. Okay, we are sending account information. Let's also remove this and see how the JSON will work. This will not work because yeah, we have removed the extra payload. Let's say this is your JSON structure. Mm, okay. In remote action, the request you are sending, let's say this is the JSON structure you are sending. Okay, but in our Apex classes, we have hard coded, since we have to hard code, let's say we have hard coded this structure where we are not considering this as account, we are considering this as a parent account or user company or simple company. Okay, we have called account as a company in our Apex class, but the structure that we are getting, it is written as an account. Then how we can tackle this? We can leverage this option of data of remote settings, where we can go and change the definition, change the name of the node. Now it could be your parent node, it could be your child node, or it could be direct entry node, last node. Like I was using, this was the last node, right? Date value. I directly change it to date of birth. Similar ways, if I change it to company, then you will see the exact JSON that it is sending now get changed. Let me actually show you this thing first. Yeah, let me copy this. Let's say this is the information that you're sending previously. Now we have renamed account to something company. Now let's see what it will send now. Now it will make, it didn't make any changes, but it renamed account to company. Rest will remain the same. Okay, similar ways you can but there is a restriction actually. We cannot change this thing. I mean, we can change, we can make it account. I mean, we can do this. It is not visible. Yeah, we can do this account of to, let's say this is written. Okay, we can change this to account. Inside block, we can use anything like say detail. Okay, so we can change this structure and now it will be account and here it will be detail. Okay, we can also introduce another sub child as well. Let's say here we want to introduce, before block 2 we want to use details. Okay, before block 2 I want to introduce a detail. This is also possible, and inside this I want to get this value. This change is also possible. How we can do that? We need to do this. We need to use account and details. Let's use the same actually. Go back to the structure. Yeah, here we have written account. We want to replace account with one more child, which is detail. Let's say we want to retrieve this value, and now what it will do, it will change, it will create another node for details name. Okay, getting it? So we can actually typecast the change here. We can actually change the structure of JSON and send that to our server. Why they give us this option? Because they want us to make it configurable. Whatever value we have used in our Apex class, we can actually send the JSON according to that. That's why they have given the this option. Okay. Now let's go back and use that only. Date well. Let's make it date of birth. Okay. Now the reverse of this is this response JSON node and response path and response JSON node. What it will do is, let's say in our Apex class, as of now, we are only returning these two values, right? Age and age category. Let's say there is an entire list that we are returning, since it's also a map. So in map, let's say we have so many information in a JSON structure that this code is returning because this code is global. But we only want to retrieve age and age category. Then how we can do that? We can simply go and configure that option here only. Let's say we only want, we don't want age category, we just want age. So in that case, we simply go and write age, which our parent node in that case. Okay. So let's see how it will return the response here. Let me, yeah. Currently it is returning these things: age category and error. Right now it will not return anything into the age. Let's see how. Acme inside the block, say this is dob doing next. What's happening? Invalid conversion from runtime map to string. Okay, something went wrong here. Okay, let's remove this and then check whether it is working here or not. Oh, see. Hmm. Extra payload we have removed, and it looks good. Step date will. Oh, see, this path is not correct, right? We have to give it correctly. We have to use the entire path. Actually, I have used it somewhere. Let me rename it. Let me do it again. It is account semicolon block 2 semicolon date of birth. Okay, this is the structure of reaching to this end, right? I just directly write this. That's right for showing this exception. Now let's go back and check it. Use Acme. Okay, now you will see it is returning age only. It is not returning age category. Why? Age category is blank. Why? If you check this thing into the back end, response you will see, response you will see there is age category and age, all values is there. But in the front end, since we have added a restriction that we only need to take care about this age, don't show anything else. That's why it was not maintain anything apart from age. Okay, even your server is returning everything. Okay, but your JSON that you are returning back to your OmniScript, it was not having anything into that particular node. Okay, similar ways there as well. We can change the name of age to something else, and let's say be in our OmniScript, like just opposite to send JSON node, we have response JSON node. In our response, we have used instead of calling it age, we call it user age. Okay, in that case, we can simply go and write user age here. So your server will return this thing in age, but we will override this definition to age to user age here. Okay, and it will show us in that way only. Mm, Any questions on it? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Guys, any? See, do one thing, just revisit this video again, okay, and try to do it by your own. Okay, and then if you have question, just ask me tomorrow, and I will help you there itself, and then we'll discuss another topic. Okay, that is basically important because initially when you migrate from an existing structure to Velocity, you have so much already written, right? In that case, you probably need remote actions. But in general, once a project which is functional, then it is very rare case scenario that we will use remote actions and call any Apex class, because all those things we can directly do with the help of integration procedures and all those actions that Velocity offers. But yeah, they provided us the option where we can control how to call a Apex class. Okay. Uh, yeah. If any questions, let's ask. No questions, then we can take the day. Just like I was saying, revisit this video again. And if you have any questions, then ask in the next class. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.